the CNBC Africa Ambassadors Cup. Proudly brought to you by Nedbank.
Before the break, we heard from representatives of government. But the Ambassadors Cup is also an avenue for business leaders to voice their views about how they see the fortunes of Africa. The newly launched arm of the ABN Group, Forbes Africa, has made a big splash since inception. Forbes Africa has made business leaders the new rock stars.
There's at least 10 different countries that are experiencing low double-digit growth figures, and I think we as Forbes Africa want to be a part of that in a very big way. We're already covering the entire continent thanks to our managing editor Chris Bishop, who has an excellent relationship with journalists from all over the continent.
By virtue of its economy, South Africa has been a gateway and a hub for many companies coming into Africa. But now, other growth nodes have emerged, promising even better returns and urging companies to seize those opportunities. Forbes Africa is not waiting for a second invitation.
We plan to be in other African countries, in Angola specifically, in Ghana. Received a lot of positive feedback from there. Zimbabwe as well. I mean, I think there's a great demand for the kind of content that we put out with Forbes Africa in these countries, and the stories of entrepreneurs and growth. I think people are really keen to look at what other people are doing in the continent and learn from that.
It seems Forbes Africa is preaching to the converted. IQ Business sees its growth path intertwined with a developing African region.
IQ Business is definitely planning to be the largest independent consulting business in Africa. We are currently based in South Africa, but we have expansion plans into Mauritius, into Nigeria and into East Africa. Well, the entire African continent is an exciting place to be from a business perspective. Africa is experiencing its reawakening. Everybody is interested in Africa, not as much as they were interested in a couple of years ago, but with the credit crunch and the financial crisis currently experienced in Europe and in North America, it's certainly an attractive place to be for business.
Business advisory service is what IQ Business trades in. They give us an outlook of sectors in 2012.
In the next year, definitely mining, infrastructure development, construction. And further to that, your financial services, which will have to supplement that, and then other spin-off businesses from that.
This attraction has tugged at the purse strings of a gigantic multinational. Tata, with its Indian roots, is now a big part of Africa too. And Tata is very bullish about Africa.
I think the rest of the world as well is bullish. Africa has had a very good growth rate. If you look around in the last decade, it's been growing. And yes, there are things which are available in Africa in terms of resources, land, water. And I think these are potential areas where business can be done in terms of agriculture or mining. And plus the population, the middle class population is growing in Africa.
Tata is a very diverse brand with fingers in a lot of pies. From automotives to consultancy services, hospitality to telecommunications.
We are a very diversified group, as you've said, and we are looking at opportunities in the power sector, that is generation of power, mining in terms of mining of iron ore, coking coal and thermal coal, and as well as to look at potential in agriculture.
Potential is exactly what Rakesh Wahi saw when he came to South Africa in 2004. Since then, the vice chairman of ABN, Rakesh Wahi, and his business partners have built big brands like CNBC Africa, Forbes Africa, ABN Events, and also ABN Digital. They're also rolling out the media machinery throughout the continent as well.
The basic value that we were trying to create from the beginning was to make South Africa the central repository of all business news. So we need to have a point of presence in all major African markets. We started off with South Africa in the beginning. We set up our bridgehead in East Africa and Kenya, in West Africa and Nigeria, and then we were hit by recession. So we needed to consolidate our business centers to these three countries But what we've now started doing over the last 12 months is to start building capacity in other countries as well. So we have looked at all the countries which are now developed in terms of stock markets, in terms of high GDP, English-speaking countries, and we are gradually moving, from countries like we've set up now in Namibia, in Zambia. We're getting into Mozambique, which is Portuguese-speaking, but yet we believe that we need to have a point of presence there. We're looking at Tanzania. Next year we'll be in Botswana. We've set up in Gabon already. We'll be in Ghana by the end of this year. So our intention is to be in about 20 countries by 2013, and that will allow us then to have a more comprehensive coverage of the African continent. And that's what CNBC Africa is all about. We need to build credible business news information from across the continent. This also helps our other portfolio companies, which is like Forbes Africa. And as we get into the digital environment, having this information coming from all over the continent into the central repository will then help us monetize some of our information into the digital space as well. As we are getting across into the continent, we also need to build credibility as a business. Most ambassadors are representatives of their countries in South Africa. We thought it's a good idea for them to get to know who we are, understand our business, what our ethics are, and there's no better way to do it than get everybody into an informal setting like this. And I think we will have this on an annual basis. Over a period of time, we'll have the same tournament in other parts of Africa. So I think we've had our first tournament here. We intend doing it in Kenya as well as in Nigeria in the future. And I think it's about aggregating and building our own, people get to know us a little better across the continent.
South Africa's fourth biggest bank, Nedbank, also has an African roadmap. Nedbank sees Africa's political stability as pivotal to increasing their foreign direct investment.
Certainly South Africa has come through a lot more advanced, I would say, to some of the markets. We're seeing that the debt capital market in South Africa is something which has taken a very advanced stage comparative to our competitors and other markets in Europe and the West. We're seeing activities coming up. Some of the African countries, the likes of the Kenyas of this world, they're coming up, and we're seeing them entering the capital markets. We think the issue that will help is political stability, of which we've seen most of the African countries work towards that. And with that being in place, certainly a business will be interested, and not just local business. I'm talking about business that is coming from offshore to come and play some activity, and thereby creating the stimulus for the need to have the capital markets that we're talking about.
Most entrepreneurs across the continent have voiced the lack of financing as a big obstacle for business development, and Nedbank has a keen interest in project financing.
We have an infrastructure team that does a lot of work in the rest of the continent. This is a team that has done a lot of projects in South Africa. We talk of such as the N4 toll road, and we see these guys coming through saying that where else in the rest of the continent can we put up similar type of projects that we've done in South Africa. So if you ask me how prepared are the geographies or the countries, as well as it's developing, it's coming up, and I think it talks to the earlier point of saying that political stability is the key to create the activity and or the interest to come through into the geographies. There's a debate that is going on to say that how ready are the entities. My view is one, yes, on the leadership side, there's obviously some areas that can be improved, so that is taking place. Have we seen the activity we anticipated? No. The activity that we anticipated from government, what role would have played in the business, in the entire market per large? Very, very important role, because if you're looking at the 850 billion over the next 5 years, the rest of private sector is pretty much going to be shaped around what government is going to be doing. We can understand there's political gatherings that are due, which are quite important for politicians. So maybe post Mangaung, we'll see a lot of activity, but we're not sitting back. We've got the teams ready, we've gathered ourselves, and we're spending time understanding our clients more and just going beyond government to make sure that the rest of the entities around those type of projects are also better prepared for.
Remo Moyo handles relationships between the bank and governments across the continent and has seen a change in policy to get business to invest in their countries.
More importantly, more than the golf, it was the networking that we enjoyed with the ambassadors of various countries. This is a critical piece of our business, or rather an entry point to our business, just for understanding what is the activities taking place in other countries and how do we position ourselves into assisting the other countries, which are probably working closer to similar type of offerings that we've done in South Africa. So this was indeed a value add to our business.
In African culture, rain is a telling sign of success, and the evening was to prove just that for better-than-average golfers and the ABN Education Trust. The biggest beneficiary of the gathering is the ABN Education Trust. The evening belonged to a cause that is near and dear to the ABN Group.
One of the things that I've been doing since I came here was to try and build skills in the media industry. When we looked at setting up in South Africa in 2007, we found a lot of shortages in skills in basic areas like graphics, in digital, in convergence. And one of the challenges we faced was finding the right talent pools within not just South Africa but also in Kenya and Nigeria and other parts of Africa. So one of the things that we've been working on systematically, and this is something we've done from the beginning, is that we did not hire any expatriates. We tried to train people locally and build talent pools within the continent. The idea of the ABN Education Trust is to now start working with previously disadvantaged children who haven't had an opportunity to go to proper education centers, to help them go through graduation schools. So we're working with the WITS Business School, with the University of Johannesburg, to take some children through this program, and it helps build capacity within the business.
There were plenty of golf winners, from the longest drive to the closest to the pin. The auction for the ABN Education Trust was to prove the generosity and a common foresight between business leaders and government. There were numerous items up for auction to raise funds for the Education Trust. From limited edition Lily's Leaf DVD box set to a 2-night stay at the Royal Livingston Hotel in Zambia, delegates dug deep and raised a cool 70,000 for the ABN Education Trust. If a day away from the office is 2 days earned, maybe this event promises to grow more opportunities for business, a channel for government to nurture its relationship with business, more importantly for both to make a tangible impact and a difference to the lives of the disadvantaged.
The CNBC Africa Ambassadors Cup. Proudly brought to you by Nedbank.